I spent 7 years inside the law of attraction. 7 years of vision boards, of gratitude journals, of affirmations on my bathroom mirror, of high-vibration playlists in the morning, of grounding meditations at lunch, of scripting in cursive on yellow legal pads at night. I read every book the movement put out. I bought every course the algorithm served me. I attended weekend seminars in hotel ballrooms where everyone was crying and shouting that they finally got it. I came home from those seminars convinced that my life was about to explode into abundance. And then nothing happened. Nothing kept happening. For 7 years, I changed my morning routine 8 times. I changed my evening routine 10 times. I tried 30 different teachers. I tried the masculine approach. I tried the feminine approach. I tried the quantum jumping. I tried the parallel realities. I tried the somatic shift. I tried the inner child. I tried the future self. I tried each one for exactly long enough to be convinced it was not working, then moved to the next, certain that the next one would be the missing piece. And underneath all of it, in the quietest part of me, the part that I would not admit to even in private, I was getting more broke, more tired, more spiritually exhausted, and more convinced that there was something fundamentally wrong with me. Because everyone in the videos was manifesting, everyone in the testimonials was attracting, and I was still here in the same apartment, with the same bank balance, with the same problems, doing all the work and producing none of the results. This video is not a sales pitch. This video is the story of why I left the law of attraction and never looked back, and the much shorter story of what happened in the months immediately after I switched to Neville Goddard's law of assumption, which most modern teachers do not even understand, is a completely different law, with a completely different mechanism that produces completely different results. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly why most law of attraction practitioners produce almost nothing, despite years of effort, exactly what the assumption is doing differently at the level of your nervous system, and exactly how to switch from one to the other, tonight in the 5 minutes before you fall asleep. The moment I left was almost accidental. I had just finished a 6-week program that promised manifested abundance in 42 days. The program had cost almost $2,000, which I had put on a credit card I could not afford to use. On day 42, the day I was supposed to be celebrating the arrival of my manifested life, I sat on the floor of my kitchen and counted the change in a jar to see if I could afford takeout. There was not enough. I ate cereal with water because I had run out of milk 3 days earlier. I had just spent $2,000 on a course about attracting abundance, and I could not afford milk. The contradiction was so loud that something inside me finally cracked. Not in despair, in clarity. Whatever I had been doing for 7 years was structurally broken. It was not that I needed another course. It was not that I needed another teacher. It was not that I needed to do the existing techniques harder. The whole framework was wrong. The whole law was wrong. Or at least my understanding of it was wrong. I closed the laptop. I deleted the courses from my drive. I unsubscribed from every newsletter. I unfollowed every account. And I sat in silence for 2 weeks. In that silence, I went back to the actual books, the original books, not the modern interpretations, not the watered-down versions. I pulled out an old copy of Neville Goddard's The Power of Awareness that I had bought years earlier and never finished, because at the time it had felt too dry, too direct, too unflattering compared to the warm, sweet voice of the modern manifestation movement. I read it again, slowly, and on page after page, I started to recognize something. Neville was not describing the law of attraction. He was describing something else. He was describing the law of assumption. And the two laws, while they sound similar, are mechanically opposite. They produce completely different states in the nervous system. They produce completely different results in the 3D. And the modern manifestation movement, by collapsing them together and emphasizing attraction, had taught me and millions of others a soft, ineffective, hopeful version of a much more direct and mechanical truth. Let me explain the difference, because it is the difference that changed everything. The law of attraction, as it is taught today, assumes that you and the thing you want are separate. You are here. The thing is over there. The thing is somewhere in the universe. Your job is to vibrate at the frequency of the thing, so that the thing is pulled toward you. Hence the word attraction. The whole metaphor is magnetic. You and the desired object are two separate magnets, and your job is to magnetize yourself correctly so that the object cannot resist coming to you. This sounds good. It is comforting. It allows you to keep believing you're a small character inside a big universe, and the big universe has the power to deliver the thing, if only you can vibrate correctly enough to get its attention. The whole posture of law of attraction practice is, despite all the language of empowerment, the posture of asking. You are asking the universe to send the thing. You are trying to be worthy of receiving. You are trying to align with what you want. And you are always in the position of not yet having it, because if you had it, you would not need to attract it. The law of assumption is completely different. There is no separation between you and the thing. There is no over there. There is no universe out there that needs to be persuaded. There is only consciousness, which is you, and consciousness is currently assuming a certain state. That state is producing what you currently see. The thing you want exists right now in the assumption layer of consciousness. Your job is not to attract it. Your job is to assume it, to occupy the state in which you already have it, not to perform the assumption as a technique while still feeling like you do not have it, to actually inhabit the assumption in the body with the full felt reality of having already received. The thing then appears in the 3D because the 3D is downstream of assumption. The 3D is the printout. The assumption is the file. The assumption is the only thing that has ever produced anything. There is no attracting. There is no magnetizing. There is no vibrating at a frequency to summon a separate object. There is only you assuming a state and reality forming around the state. When I understood this, I felt sick, because I understood in that moment that I had spent 7 years working on the wrong layer. I had been trying to attract from a state of not having, when the actual work was to assume from a state of already having. The two practices look superficially similar from the outside. Both involve visualization. Both involve feeling, both involve repetition, but the inner posture is opposite. Attraction is the posture of asking. Assumption is the posture of being. The asking confirms the absence. The being confirms the presence. My nervous system had spent 7 years confirming absence, 10 or 20 or 30 times a day, every time I sat down to practice. No wonder nothing arrived. I had been broadcasting absence with surgical consistency. The universe, which is just my own consciousness in a slightly different form, had been faithfully reflecting back the absence I was broadcasting. The universe did not fail me. The universe did exactly what it was asked. I had been asking for absence. The first thing I did after this realization was simple. I stopped trying to attract anything. I stopped reading attraction books. I stopped saying the word attract. I removed every affirmation from my walls that contained any language of pulling, calling, summoning, drawing, or aligning with. I replaced everything with a single inner question. Who am I being right now? That was the entire practice. Not what am I trying to attract, not what am I vibrating at, who am I being right now, because being is the assumption, and being is the only thing the 3D responds to. In those first weeks, I began to notice something disturbing. I had been performing the role of someone who wanted to be wealthy for so long that I had become extremely skilled at being someone who wanted to be wealthy. I knew how to write the affirmations. I knew how to feel the gratitude. I knew how to do the gratitude meditation that activated the heart coherence. I knew how to do the box breathing that calmed the nervous system before scripting. I knew all of it. But underneath the performance, I had remained the whole time in the bodily state of someone who did not have, who was waiting, who was hoping, who was asking. My identity had become wanting. My nervous system was an expert at wanting, and the 3D had given me exactly what my nervous system was expert at. More wanting, more waiting, more hoping, more absence to want against. Switching to assumption required dismantling that identity, slowly, painfully. The dismantling was uncomfortable because the identity of wanting had been my whole spiritual life. Without it, who was I? I was no longer the seeker. I was no longer the manifestation practitioner. I was no longer the person who would manifest one day. I was just a person, with no role, with no story, with no future arrival to wait for. Just a person here, with nothing special happening. This was terrifying. It was also the doorway, because once I stopped being the seeker, I had room to start being the one who had already arrived. And being the one who had already arrived is the entire law of assumption. The first thing that shifted before any money showed up was the body. After about 3 weeks of stopping the attraction practices and instead practicing being, My body became calm in a way I had never felt. The constant low-grade anxiety about whether the universe was going to come through, which I had not even realized was anxiety because it had been my baseline for so long, started to dissolve. I stopped checking my bank account every morning. I stopped refreshing my email looking for some sign that abundance was on the way. I stopped scanning the world for proof. The body just settled. And in that settling, I noticed something obvious that I had missed for 7 years. The asking itself had been creating the tension. The tension had been preventing every result. Once the asking stopped, the tension stopped. Once the tension stopped, the body could finally rest. And in the rest, something else could finally happen. About 6 weeks in, the first event arrived. It was small. A client I had worked with 2 years earlier and had not heard from since sent me an email asking if I was available for a project. I had not pitched her. I had not followed up. I had not even thought about her in over a year. The project was small but solid. I took it. I did the work calmly. I delivered it on time. She paid me on the day she received the invoice, which had never happened with her before, even years ago. There was no celebration in me when the money landed. There was just a quiet recognition. Of course this happened. I am the one to whom this happens. The recognition felt strange, but also completely natural. The old me would have been ecstatic. The new me was just slightly amused, like, yes, this is how it works now. 3 weeks after that, a second event. A stranger emailed me about a workshop opportunity. I had no idea how they had found me. I had not posted anything publicly in months. The fee they offered was 4 times what I had previously charged for similar work. I accepted without negotiating. The fee was paid in advance. There was again no celebration. There was a calm acceptance. This is who I am now. This is what happens to me. Then they started to come faster. An old contract was renewed. A friend referred a new client. An unexpected reimbursement from a tax issue I had forgotten about. A small inheritance from a distant relative. A subscription service I had forgotten to cancel suddenly refunded 12 months of charges. Money started arriving from channels I could not have predicted, in amounts that were modest at first, and then steadily larger. None of it was lottery-sized. None of it was a single windfall. It was a slow, steady, almost mechanical reorganization of my financial reality around the new assumption I had been holding. By the end of the 3rd month, I had paid off the credit card I had bought the abundance course with. By the end of the 6th month, my monthly income had roughly tripled with the same hours of work as before. By the end of the year, I had moved into a better apartment, taken a real vacation for the first time in 5 years, and had a savings cushion for the first time in my adult life. None of this happened because I attracted anything. Nothing was pulled toward me from somewhere else. The universe did not look down at my vibration and decide I had finally earned it. What happened is much simpler and much more mechanical. My nervous system had migrated to a new assumption. The new assumption was that I am someone for whom money flows easily. That assumption then constructed the behaviors of someone for whom money flows easily. I responded to that client email within an hour instead of waiting 3 days. I accepted the workshop fee without flinching instead of negotiating myself down. I delivered work calmly instead of in panic. I held boundaries with low-paying clients instead of accepting whatever they offered. I stopped explaining my prices. I stopped apologizing for invoices. I stopped sending discount codes to people who did not ask for them. None of these were techniques. They were the natural behaviors of the new assumption. The behaviors then produced the financial reality that matched the assumption. The 3D obeyed on its own schedule the file I had been holding for those weeks and months. This is the entire mechanism. It is not magical. It is not mystical. It is biological. The nervous system has a predictive model. The model is the assumption. The model produces the behavior. The behavior produces the reality. Change the model, and the reality reorganizes. The whole law of attraction movement, by emphasizing pulling things toward you, distracts the practitioner from the actual lever, which is the assumption underneath. As long as you are trying to attract, you are reinforcing the assumption that you do not yet have. As long as you are trying to align with, you are reinforcing the assumption that you are not currently aligned. The pulling itself is the problem. The aligning itself is the problem. The trying itself is the problem. Stop trying, start being. The being is the whole law. Before we go any further, drop a comment if you have spent years in law of attraction practice without producing the results you wanted. You are not broken. You were not doing it wrong, you were practicing the wrong law. The pinned comment has the next step for the ones who are ready to switch tonight. I read every comment, and I can spot almost immediately the difference between someone who is genuinely ready to switch and someone who is going to argue with me in the replies. Be one who switches. The arguing keeps you in the previous state. The switching costs you nothing except an identity you should have shed years ago. Now let me list the specific mistakes that Law of Attraction practice trained me to make, so that you can recognize them in your own practice and stop them tonight. Mistake 1. Visualizing the moment of receiving instead of the moment of having. The Law of Attraction loves the moment of receiving. The shocked face, the disbelief, the tears, the hugging of the check, the dramatic mental movie of finally getting the thing. This moment is poison, because the moment of receiving carries with it the energy of someone who did not have it until now. The shock is the energy of absence finally being broken. The relief is the energy of struggle finally ending. Both feelings reinforce the previous absence. Stop visualizing the moment of receiving. Visualize the moment 2 weeks after receiving, when the receiving is already old, when the thing has settled into your normal life. When you are not even thinking about it, that is the moment of assumption. That is the moment that produces the result. Mistake 2. Doing the practice while still feeling the lack. Most Law of Attraction teachers tell you to feel grateful for what you already have, while also wanting more. They do not see the contradiction in this instruction. You cannot be grateful for what you have while also feeling lack about what you want, because the two emotional states cannot coexist in the body. The lack always wins. The gratitude becomes performance on top of the lack. The performance does not penetrate the body. Nothing changes. The correct posture is to not feel any lack about the new thing, because the new thing is already done in the assumption layer, and you are simply waiting for the printer to catch up. The waiting itself is calm, not anxious. There is no lack to feel grateful for not having. There is only quiet ownership of what is already true at the assumption level. Mistake 3. Repeating affirmations. Affirmations only feel necessary in the presence of the contradicting assumption. The very act of repeating, "I am wealthy" 70 times confirms that you do not feel wealthy, which is why you need to keep repeating it. The repetition reinforces the contradiction. Stop affirming, start being. If you are being the assumption, no affirmation is needed. If you are not being the assumption, no amount of affirmation will install it. The being is the only practice. Repetition is a substitute for inhabitation, and the substitute does not work. Mistake 4. Looking for signs. Law of Attraction culture is obsessed with signs, synchronicities, number sequences, animal sightings, songs on the radio. Every coincidence is interpreted as proof that the universe is aligning. This is comforting and also poisonous, because looking for signs keeps you in the posture of waiting for proof from the outside. As long as you need proof from the outside, you have not assumed. The assumption requires no proof. The assumption is its own proof. The day you stop looking for signs is the day the assumption begins to work. Stop looking. The 3D will rearrange in its own time. You do not need to track its progress. Mistake 5. Trying to feel high vibration. The vibration framework of modern Law of Attraction insists that you must feel good, feel elevated, feel happy, in order to attract good things. This produces an entire industry of people performing happiness at themselves all day long, exhausting their nervous systems, suppressing legitimate feelings, and then crashing when the performance fails. The assumption does not require high vibration. The assumption requires calm. The assumption requires bodily knowing. The assumption can be held in a quiet, neutral, settled body. You do not need to be vibrating at love and gratitude all day to manifest. You need to be quietly assuming in a relaxed body that the thing is already done. The calm is the work. The performance of high vibration is just another way to avoid the actual work of being. Stop performing. Just be. The being is calm. The calm is enough. Once I had stopped making these 5 mistakes, the practice became almost embarrassingly simple. 10 minutes a day of quiet, imaginal occupation of the end. 5 minutes before sleep of feeling the wish as already fulfilled. No affirmations, no vision boards, no sign hunting, no high vibration performance, no bargaining with the universe, no begging in journals. Just 2 short windows of assumption, every day held in a calm body, repeated for months, while the 3D reorganized in the background. The simplicity of this is what most attraction practitioners cannot accept. They want it to be more complicated. They want there to be more steps. They want a longer routine. The complication keeps them inside the identity of the seeker. The simplicity is what the inhabitant looks like. The seeker is suspicious of simplicity. The inhabitant trusts it. If you are ready to make the switch tonight, here is exactly what to do. Stop doing whatever attraction practice you are currently doing. Just stop. Do not replace it with anything for the first 2 or 3 days. Let the nervous system rest from the constant performance. Then on the 3rd or 4th night, in the 5 minutes before sleep, in a calm body, imagine you are 2 weeks past the arrival of what you want, not the receiving. 2 weeks past. The thing is already settled. The life around you has already absorbed it. There is no celebration because the celebration was 2 weeks ago. There is just the calm normalcy of having. Feel the body of the person you are by then. The chest is open. The breath is easy, the shoulders are down. There is a slight amusement at how much you used to want this because now it is just your life. Stay there. Do not narrate. Do not affirm. Do not try to feel anything specific. Just be. 5 minutes. Then sleep. Do this every night. After a few nights, you will start to feel something different. The body will start to recognize the new state. The first night it will feel forced. The 3rd night less so. The 7th night will feel surprisingly natural. By the 3rd week, the assumption will start to leak into your daytime. You will catch yourself, while doing dishes or driving, briefly inhabiting the new state without trying. That is the early sign that the migration is working. Do not get excited about it. Excitement is the previous state. Quiet recognition is the new state. Treat it as ordinary. Of course this is happening. I am the one to whom this happens. After the first 90 days, the assumption will start to install itself automatically. You will no longer have to deliberately occupy it. It will become your default. From that point forward, the 3D will start to noticeably reorganize. Money will arrive from unexpected channels. Opportunities will appear. People will respond to you differently. Conversations will go more easily. Decisions will feel obvious. You will not need to do anything dramatic to make it happen. The assumption will be doing the work. You will simply be living inside the result. This is what Neville actually taught. Not the watered-down, soft, marketed version that became the law of attraction. The actual mechanical, biological process by which assumption produces reality. It is not mystical. It is not New Age. It is the oldest description of how consciousness works, in modern language, written by a man who refused to dress it up to sell more books. He paid for that refusal by being marginalized for decades. The marketing industry chose the softer, attraction-based, more emotionally pleasing version and made it the global default. Most modern manifestation practitioners have never heard the actual law described correctly. They have spent years on the wrong layer, like I did, producing almost no results, blaming themselves for not believing hard enough. If you have been in that loop, you can leave it tonight. There is no exit fee. There is no waiting period. There is no permission to obtain. You just stop, you read Neville, you install the assumption, you let the 3D reorganize on its own schedule. 6 months from now, your financial reality will be measurably different. 12 months from now, it will be unrecognizable. Not because you attracted anything, because you assumed correctly, in a calm body, consistently, for the time required for the nervous system to migrate. Tell me in the comments where you are in your own switch. Are you still in law of attraction practice and feeling the gap? Are you between the two, suspicious of attraction but not yet committed to assumption? Are you already in the early weeks of switching and feeling the body settle? Or are you years into the assumption work and seeing the 3D respond? Wherever you are, tell me. I read everyone. The pinned comment has the specific instruction for tonight. The ones who do it tonight, not next week, not after one more video, not after one more course, are the ones who will report back in 6 months with stories that sound like miracles. They are not miracles, they are mechanics. The mechanics were always there. The marketing just hid them under softer language to sell more courses. The hiding is over. The law is in front of you again, in its original form. Stop attracting. Start assuming. The 3D has been waiting. It always has been. It will reorganize the moment you give it the new file to print. There is one more thing I want to share, because it is the question I get most often from people who have been in attraction practice for years. They ask whether the time they spent on attraction was wasted. The answer is no. The 7 years were not wasted. They were the years that made the switch possible. Without those years, I would never have been frustrated enough to abandon the framework. Without the abandonment, I would never have rediscovered Neville. Without rediscovering Neville, I would never have understood the difference between attraction and assumption. The years were not wasted. They were the path. They were the exact path that led to the switch. If you are in those years right now, frustrated and producing nothing, you are exactly where I was. The frustration is the precondition for the switch. Trust the frustration. It is doing its work. When you are ready, the switch will be obvious. You will not need to be persuaded. You will simply know that the law you have been practicing is not the law that produces results, and you will quietly close the laptop, delete the courses, unsubscribe from the newsletters, and begin the actual work of being. Another thing worth mentioning, the switch from attraction to assumption produces strange effects in your relationships, especially with people who are still inside attraction culture. Some of your spiritual friends will not understand what you are doing. They will think you have lost your spark. They will worry that you have given up on manifestation. They will try to pull you back into the language of vibration, alignment, frequency, signs, and synchronicities. You will not have anything to say to them, because the language of assumption does not translate easily into the language of attraction. The two frameworks are using the same words for completely different concepts. You will either have to learn to be quiet around these friends, or you will have to gently let them drift away. Most of them will not survive your switch. New friends will appear, who are doing the actual work of being, who understand what you are doing without needing it explained. This is the social rearrangement that follows every state migration. It is uncomfortable but inevitable. Finally, do not expect the assumption to feel impressive at first. The assumption is quiet. The assumption is small. The assumption is unimpressive compared to the dramatic high vibration practices of attraction culture. There are no goosebumps, there are no chills, there are no waves of euphoria. There is just a calm, settled, almost boring sense of being the person who has it. This is the correct feeling. If you are looking for the dramatic spiritual experience, you are still in attraction mode. Drop the search for the dramatic. The dramatic is theater. The boring is reality. The boring is what works. The boring is what produces the 3D results that the dramatic could never produce in 7 years. If you're sitting somewhere reading this right now, exhausted from years of attraction practice that has produced almost nothing, take this as the permission you needed. You can stop. You do not have to do it any longer. You were not failing. You were practicing the wrong law. Tonight, in the 5 minutes before sleep, in a calm body, occupy the end, not the receiving. 2 weeks past the receiving. Calm, settled, boring, already done. 5 minutes. Then sleep. Wake up. Live your day. Do not check the bank account. Do not look for signs. Do not measure progress. Trust the file. Repeat tomorrow night. Repeat every night for 6 months. Then look around at the life that has built itself around the new assumption that life will be measurably better than the one that built itself around 7 years of trying to attract. The mechanics are mechanical. The law is the law. Stop attracting. Start assuming the 3D has been waiting. Let it deliver.